The thing about digital technologies is we tend to, or there's a temptation to fall in love with the technology itself. You know, I've spent my entire career in the Silicon Valley, and believe me, in the Silicon Valley we love digital technologies, right? But what you want to do is find a way to blend your technology with humanity, right? To start with empathy and figure out, what do humans really need? Because trust me, if you focus all your technological abilities, if you create digital offerings that you know people already need, your chances of being successful with those new technologies is much, much higher. I recently did a lot of research on the topic of creative confidence. I interviewed 100 different people and got their stories. And of course, we don't have time to talk about the hundreds, but let me just talk about one. Because it combines this idea of technology and humanity. It's two very bright young entrepreneurs named Ankit and Akshay. They're both born in India, and they came to the Silicon Valley and they took this course at Stanford University. It's an entrepreneurship course in which unlike the normal course where you have to write a business plan during the school year, you have to have the business plan before you start. You have to have customers by week 5. And so these guys had all the technology they needed on day 1 of the course. Very bright young guys. It was the humanity that they needed to add. And so they had to come up with a concept that they could launch into the marketplace in 5 weeks. And their timing was very good, as it often is with successful entrepreneurs. They started the class right at the time the Apple iPad was released, right? And they said, okay, let's do something with the iPad. And they had this concept that we now call a news aggregator. The term did not exist at the time. Bringing news from many sources and displaying it on a single screen, right? So these young guys, they don't have a place to work. They don't have an office. They don't have a place at Stanford University. They don't even have the requisite Silicon Valley garage. And so they set up shop in a cafe on University Avenue, the main street of Palo Alto, California, where Stanford is. And they're there for 10 hours a day. And Ankit, one of the guys, says to me, Tom, we're not allowed back in that cafe. So they start up, and they're both on the shy side. And so they're not really wanting to reach out to humans, but they are surrounded by people in this cafe. And a lot of those people are reading the news. And so because the iPad is so new, people actually approach them and they say, hey, is that a new iPad, right? And they hand it to them. They say, why, yes, it is. And they hand them an iPad with their prototype software running on it. And the great thing that happened is they got feedback. They said as many as 100 times a day they would get feedback from real customers about their prototype. So they were able to change it many, many, many times, right? So at the time that I sent my book off to publication, they had 30 million users. A part of how they got 30 million was while they were still students at Stanford University, Steve Jobs, who was still alive at the time, held up an iPad at the Apple Worldwide Developers Conference and talked about their software. He only said 12 words about it, but that was enough because people knew that Steve Jobs couldn't be bought at any cost, right? And it must be good if Steve is talking about it, right? The news aggregator app they created is called Pulse News. In fact, I still use Pulse News every day, right? So they have 30 million customers when I sent my book off to the publisher, but no revenue really to speak of, right? And so you kind of worry about them a little bit until after my book got shipped, they did a deal with LinkedIn, and LinkedIn bought this little company for $90 million. And Ankit and Akshay will tell you, it wasn't the technology alone that did it. They had great technology, great digital technology on day 1. It was blending the technology with humanity. It was all those humans around them that gave them all that feedback, for free, by the way, gave them all the feedback that allowed them to come to market with a great and successful product that continues to grow up to and including the current day.